It's not your fault that you can't eat just a little bit, but it's your responsibility to just eat a little bit or to have none. If you have a hard time and you can't stop and you're watching TV and you look down and all of a sudden the whole pack is gone. I remember hearing Oprah say that once. I'm like, who else is in the room? Who ate the rest of this popcorn? Who ate the rest of this bag of chips, right? If that's you, you're probably an abstainer. You probably can't moderate those things. There are two different kinds of people. There's an abstainer and a moderator. And I have always been an abstainer. I just didn't know it. I can't have just one.
I think most people, I think 90% of people are abstainers, even if they don't know it. And I think that very, very few people are actually moderators if they're really honest with themselves. I'm not sure if you would agree.
I agree 100% with that. 100%. Like,
wow.
It's really hard. And even like when people picture somebody binging, they picture the pictures and the videos. I'm sure you can, picture in your head, like the 400 or 500 pound guy surrounded by junk food, gobbling, like shoving food in your mouth. That isn't always what a binge looks like. Sometimes a binge looks like it did for me the weekend that I ended up becoming a carnivore, or the weekend before I ended up becoming a carnivore. It was my birthday weekend. My girls had a gluten-free baking business at the time. And they said, do you want us to make you some cupcakes? And I said, yes, and double the batch. That's where I was in my life. I was struggling with some post-sickness issues with my taste and smell, where things tasted and smelled like rotten skunk carcasses. I mean, it was just horrible. Followed me around for almost 3 years. It was miserable. And this was the beginning for me, and I was struggling. And the only thing that really tasted and smelled good was sugary things like baked goods. I was eating a lot of baked goods. They had a business. They would set up the farmer's market, and I would eat all their leftovers, like for a couple of months, 3 months maybe. I was miserable. And so they doubled the batch of cupcakes, and I ate 20 cupcakes in 36 hours. That can also be a binge. Like, a binge doesn't have to be where you sit in front of the TV and you eat the entire bag or whatever. And for me, that weekend, the binge looked like every time I walked through the kitchen, I picked up a cupcake and I peeled it and I ate it. So 20 cupcakes in 36 hours, there were only, the time that I wasn't eating a cupcake 1 hour was probably when I was sleeping. And so I think it's important to know that a binge isn't always shoving food in your mouth, like you see videos of and things like that. That's not always what it is. It can be something simple like walking through your kitchen and picking up a cupcake every time you do and eating it. And so I think people only picture the binging like the first image, somebody shoving the food in their mouth. Whereas if you do it like that, kind of grazing as a binge, it still counts as a binge. And I think most people have that form of binging. I mean, that's what I think.
Interesting.
Most people do that and just don't realize it. I'm not saying there aren't a lot of people that shovel food in their mouths, eating two candy bars when a movie is on, and then, eating a pack of, potato chips or, whatever. But I think a binge can be a much slower process that doesn't look like your typical binge. And I think more people might even have that kind of binge disorder than shoveling food in your mouth and not even chewing as you swallow it, like we picture, I think. And so I think that it gets underdiagnosed, and I think that it is
very much so.
It's not talked about as much because so many people are binging. I mean, like, for me, honestly, I feel like if you're eating 3 fast food meals a day, you're binging on fast food. So many people have that disorder, and they just don't realize it.
Yeah. Wow. So powerful. I can relate to every single word that you just said. I think I'm more of the more of the extreme though, like more of the like the classic picture that you were describing. So like when I've been sober from binge eating for years now because of the carnivore diet. I was never ever able to stop until I got carbs out of my life just once and for all. And I think some people are more sensitive to them. Everybody's sensitive to them to some degree. My favorite quote from Bart K is, "There's a price to pay for every gram of sugar that enters your body in some way, shape, or form," and there really is. And I'm kind of the either all in and doing everything perfectly, or I effed up one time. Like nothing matters at this point. And so then that's kind of what my binging episodes would look like. And it was actually so bad, in particular around 2017, my first time competing. I was doing everything that I did everything that Lane Norton said to do. I was his best student. I did all the cardio. I did all the calorie counting, all the bullshit that they talk about on their podcast. And I was we went on a family trip after that, where my wife and I went to visit her dad's pub in Sitka, Alaska, which should be a really cool trip, right? Like that should be a
Yeah.
really fun experience. No, I was binging and purging the entire trip. My hormones were out of whack. My thyroid was tanked. I could not lose fat. I wasn't even in competition shape. I looked like shit on stage. I completely wrecked my hormones, and I completely trashed my relationship with food. It was horrible. The only positive thing that came out of that was I kind of had a pornography problem a couple years before that, and I was trying to get off of it, and my wife was trying to help me past it too. My testosterone got so low that I just like lost the urge or the desire to even entertain that thought at all. And then after my first year of competing, because my testosterone was in the toilet for so long, once I finally did get it back, I never opened that can of worms. So I've been pornography free and binge eating free for quite some time now, probably both because of the carnivore diet in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
it
changes your brain.
but I think that my wife is kind of more like you though, because she's never been an epic binge and purge person like me. But her biggest thing is, I'm sure you probably have experienced this, or like have clients that have experienced this, but cooking for our kids. So like it's easy for her to snack when she's cooking for our kids. I never cook for our kids, right? Well, that's not true. When I cook for when I cook for our kids, it's epic, and it's always like liver or like something to where my wife is like, really? And I'm like, yep, this is what we're eating today, everybody. And it's funny because like our kids are 6 and 4, and they don't know that that's not socially acceptable. They're like, yeah, liver tastes awesome. It's so much better than fruit and vegetables. And I'm like, you're damn right it is. and my son, when he's not on the carnivore diet, oh, like his he's high functioning autistic. So we talk about people that are particularly sensitive to carbs.
Yeah.
He's at the top of the list. And if he's not carnivore, then it's just, you know, kind of a rough day.
Yeah, you mentioned that trip to Alaska, and how it should have been a good trip, you know, and instead it focused all around what you were doing with your food. And we go places all the time, you know, vacation spots, or like there's a local theme park that we go to, and every time we're there, my mind goes back to every time we were there for 15, 20 years. All I could think about was where I was going to get my next hit. All I could think about was when I was going to get the kettle corn, when I was going to get,
Oh, you're thinking like a drug addict looking for the next meth fix. It's the same thing.
That's right. That's right. And my girls and I were watching a TV show several years ago, and one of the characters on the TV show said something that I will never forget. And I've shared this before, but he basically said that addiction is the only prison where the lock is on the inside. And that to me gives me goosebumps every time I hear it and every time I say it, because that's true. It's the only addiction. It's the only prison where the lock is on the inside. You have the key to get out, and you just don't know it. And for me, that was carnivore, like it was, you know, Absolutely. For you.